Well, hi everyone. Hey, what if I told you that if you only went out shooting with your cell phone, be it an iPhone or an Android, no downloading of any special apps that allows you any special aperture control or shutter control, and no third-party lenses, but that you could get the look of what's coming off your expensive 35mm camera with various lenses and looks. And you could do it all in Photoshop. Would you think I've lost it? Nope, I haven't. It's very simple. It's called a depth blur filter. I'm going to show you where to access it, how to use it. It's super simple. And I guarantee after watching this video, you're going to run in and want to start reprocessing a lot of your images that you have captured. All right, let's take a look over here at the screen. Now I'm going to go through 3 of the photos that I captured with my daughter-in-law this past weekend up in Northern California, where they've had a lot of rain this winter. So they get a really beautiful display of wildflowers, and they're still coming out up there. So these are processed RAWs. I'm not going to go through to show you how to set your camera up in RAW. You can Google your own camera or just search it in YouTube. It's very easy to set up in RAW mode. And for those of you going, well, I like what JPEGs give me. Yeah, but RAW mode's going to give you access to all the data your camera captured. And with these tiny sensors that are in these smartphones, and I'm using the Apple iPhone 16 Pro Max, I want to get access to all the data, and that's why I go in RAW mode. So these were processed in Lightroom, and I'm going to get back out of here by going here, and then I'm going to show you these are the processed images. Look at that. Okay, so how do I do that? Well, why don't you catch me up over here in Photoshop? We're going to go in. I'm going to show you where the depth blur filter resides, how to use it, and I'll have you up and running in no time. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these images. Now, obviously, if you wanted to leave everything in sharp focus from front to back, you would not be going into the depth blur image. Something needs to be blurred, right? Well, if I came over here to filter, and I could add neural filters right now, but I'm going to advise you, Command on a Mac, Control on a PC, and go J, and you will always have a secondary layer there that you could turn on and off if you mess up. Now go into neural filters. Now come down here. You're going to see, here's all the filters that are either still residing in the cloud or like color transfer I've put on. I play with colorize quite a bit. And depth blur, I've already loaded it. But if I hadn't, you would see a little cloud icon. So if you're doing this for the first time, you want to obviously download it. And then every time you come in, once you've downloaded it, then you would just turn it on or off. Now inside you have focal distance, focal range, focus on subject. I kind of for landscape don't advise you to click on focus subject. Then you're going to have your blur strength, and by default it's usually at 50 and the focal distance is usually at 25. So you've got to ask yourself the first question, what is it in this picture that I want to have blurred, and what is it that I want to have in focus? Well, I would kind of like to have the focus on this loop and go on up the hillside, and then somewhere back in here have these trees drop out. So I'm going to start pulling up on the focal range quite a bit. And now you can see it's starting to get everything sharp up in here. The focal distance is too much now. I need to back that down and just take it off those trees back in there. And I could take the focal range up a little bit more. And it's really kind of a pulling back and forth on these 2 sliders until you get it just about where you want it. And you're starting to sharpen those trees, so let's just leave that alone. So I'm at 26 and 100. Now the blur strength is what is blurred. It's how much do you want it blurred. It's kind of like Gaussian blur. And I might just take that up all the way. That way my trees are really soft and out of focus. Okay, So now if I click OK and I come back in here, you're going to see that, let's take the zoom tool, type Z for zoom, and blow this up a little bit. And whoops, I've blown that up way too much. Let's take it down. Everything pretty much from foreground to right up in here is in pretty sharp focus, but everything back in here is soft focus. And I do want to preface this by saying that it's going to work better for some images and not so good for others. So it's like anything with an iPhone photo. You got to find what works for you. I think this one now, what I would do is I would just flatten, so you'd come up here to layer and flatten image. And then you could come back in here to camera raw. Let's go in there just so I'm going to show you on this first one. And let's come in here now maybe and play with the vibrance on this a little bit. Okay, some effects I may want to, let's take the clarity up a little. Maybe the texture up a little. Probably texture more so than clarity on this. And you can see this mask is not allowing it to get back in here to my background. Okay, it's only applying it on what it is seeing that's in focus. And that mask, if we had it out here, you would see that it is white in the foreground, transitioning to gray right here, and then black back in here, and definitely black on the sky. Okay, so let's speed it up a little. What do I want to do with this picture? Well, you can see that these flowers are in sharp focus, but so is this tree. So we want to add a layer, Command or Control J, come back up into Filter, Neural Filters, come down, and this time it'll be turned on because you've downloaded it. And now you're seeing it's just putting this thin little, I like the blur strength back here, but now we've got to extend what's in focus and what's out of focus. And I'm just going to keep bringing that up. And then I'm going to pull a little bit. I'm looking at the back flowers back there and there. I just got them to pop, but I got a little too much into that tree, didn't I? So let's back it off. And I don't know with the compression on YouTube on how great you're seeing this. I want to make those trees even a little softer, so I'm going to pull on blur strength. Let's just really take it all the way up and see what it does. Yeah, now we've got the focus pretty much on these flowers. These little lupins here in the foreground are nice and sharp. And let's click OK. Come back out. And you know what it's doing? I'm noticing this. It's creating its own layers. So you don't have to worry about, oh, I know why it is. And I'm going to show you when I go in on the third one. So let's turn this off. And let's turn this now off with the competing trees and on. And I'll come back to the one we just did. Oh, no, I flattened that one already. And this time, let's not create a secondary layer. I'm going to show you why. I'm going to come to Filter, and let's go to Neural. Let's turn on the depth blur. And here's why. Because in my output, I clicked on Output New Layer, and you have these choices. Current layer, and I think by default it goes to current layer. So the first time you go in, it's up to you. You can leave it current layer and then add a layer in Photoshop, or you can turn on new layer. And you can also output these as a smart filter. Okay, so this one, the goal is going to be, I want to get these purple flowers and the yellow flowers. So I'm going to raise the focal range because I've got to get this guy in focus, but I don't want competing with the background too much in focus. And I'm not so sure I can get those foreground flowers in focus. Let's see. No, I think they were out of focus on the original file. And I'm going to take that up. Now that's bringing in a little too much. This is nice and sharp now, and that's all I care about. Anything beyond that, I'm going to take the blur strength and I'm going to bring it all the way up. Okay. And yeah, that's leaving that alone. And again, if you want the depth map only, this is why I said depth blur is the name of the filter, but it's creating a depth map. I could click on that and it would create the depth map, which is that. So what is this telling us? Well, everything that's in black or dark gray is not going to get much of the change. Everything that's transitioning off through gray will get some of it, and then everything back in here that's white will get all of it. And what is it it's going to get? It's going to get that blur we're trying to apply. Okay, so let's leave this alone. We'll put it out to a new layer. We'll click OK. And now we just have the one layer. And here it is before, with a lot of that background sharp. It wasn't 100% sharp, and I'm going to show you why. Let's come back over here, well, before we leave Photoshop, and here's where it's blurred. Let me come back into Lightroom, and what picture are we looking at? This one here. This is, the camera just picked, this is my iPhone, 100 ISO, 6.7 mil, f1.8. So there was, and I was close to those foreground flowers, so that's why there was a little depth of field. Shutter speed 1/390. So, hey, that's it. That's how simple it is. And I hope I got you kind of stoked, and you're going to run off now and go through some of your iPhone photos. Doesn't matter if you shot in RAW or not. This will work on a JPEG also, okay? So I would advise, though, if you're not in RAW mode, it's really easy. Watch another video on how to set your particular camera up in RAW, and you'll be off and capturing all the data you can possibly capture. Okay, so I hope this has helped you out and kind of stoked your interest into the depth blur filter and creating a depth map. And one thing I wanted to add on that depth map is if you output that, you can actually invert it. And why would you want to invert it? Well, let's say you wanted to add contrast to the foreground, but not to your background, because that's the way we really see in nature, right? Think about, I always use the example in my workshops of concentric mountain ridges. And that first mountain ridge is going to look good and contrasty because it's the nearest object to you. But as it goes back through the third, fourth, fifth, however many ranges are there, they're going to get less and less contrasty. And that's natural. That's the way it should look. Same with seascapes, where I live here next to the ocean, because we've got haze residing out there on that ocean. In the mountains, you have what's called air light, and that's just pollutants that are up in the air unless you're seeing it right after a windy, wet, rainy storm where it's cleared the air out beautifully. But even then, you'll see it. So that's something I'm always trying to strive for in my imagery, to make it look real, and you should too. Okay, so anyway, I hope this has whetted your appetite, and we're going to be coming to you here hopefully every 2 weeks. We're going to definitely do it, and then we're going to try to get it up to every week as we progress onwards. We've gotten in most of the equipment here that will allow me to take you out in the field and photograph. We're waiting for a remote microphone to show up in a couple of weeks. All this is coming from China, and need I mention the tariffs and how that's causing a headache with all the suppliers trying to get this stuff to me. But we'll eventually get it all in, and we'll get it, take you out in the field and do some actual recordings out there. Okay, hey, till next time, you guys stay creative, and it's good for the soul. We'll see you next time.